Hi, my name is Nick Shell and I am a certified Enneagram coach. Let's talk about 9 wing 8s. I want to talk about fictional characters that happen to be a 9 wing 8. I happen to be a not fictional, I'm a real person who happens to be 9 wing 8. And so I've been fascinated by doing research. I am writing a book about Enneagram, so I'm looking for examples in my book of each number. And I'm very fascinated by this concept of a 9 wing 8, where it seems to be kind of a paradox, because 9 is supposed to be the peacemaker. But what about when they're not, but they're still looking for peace and they're confrontational? So what does that look like in fiction? So I've got some examples for you. Let's start out with men named John, because that seems to be a pattern that I'm seeing here. John Rambo. Think about the Rambo series. All he wanted was to be left alone and for there to be peace. But when he couldn't have that, well, there ended up being 5 movies about this. John Rambo is an Enneagram 9. But then he takes off his shirt and he brings out the machine guns and he shoots down helicopters, etc. So John Rambo, of the 5 Rambo movies, he would be Enneagram 9. Another one would actually be same actor, Sylvester Stallone, who in real life, my understanding, is actually an Enneagram 3, but he does a good job of playing Enneagram 9 wing 8s, because also Rocky Balboa and all of the many Rocky movies that were made in Creed, he's an Enneagram 9 wing 8. Again, he just wants to be at peace, he wants to be left alone, but when it's time for a challenge, he goes after it. It's funny because I even think after he won the fight and he's in the local ring practicing and he bumps shoulders with this one other fighter who's still an amateur, and Rocky says, "Oops." And the guy kind of mocks him like, "Oops, what are you talking about? You're saying whoops?" Because he ultimately just wants her to be peace. So we've got John Rambo, we've got Rocky Balboa, John Wick. There's like several of those movies. I haven't seen any of them, but I'm very familiar with the concept. Guy that just wants peace, but boy, does he become that challenger pretty quickly when motivated. Another one that also falls in the category of John would be pretty much any movie starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, you know, the 80s and 90s star. He's a peaceful guy, but he's ready to defend himself, and he definitely does. But all he really wants to be is peaceful. He doesn't want there to be conflict, but he initiates it and he defends himself accordingly. One more that I've got for you on this one, getting away from action stars, is Jim Halpert on The Office. A very beloved character on The Office. I've seen every episode of The Office a minimum of 3 times. I own every episode on DVD, even including the episodes they no longer air on TV. But the more you watch The Office, the more you realize Jim is actually pretty confrontational. Yes, he wants to stay out of the drama, but he also initiates most conflict with Dwight. He kind of steals Pam away from her fiance, even though Roy's not a great guy. But you see all these patterns where he's actually, he's confrontational. And he definitely wants there to be peace, and he is likable. But he also can kind of be seen as the villain if you go back and watch certain things. If he would have just stayed out of it, things would have been a lot different. I'm not saying for the better, but it is interesting to see what that looks like. So there's just a few fictional 9 wing 8s. You are more than welcome to leave a comment and go through some more, because I think it really is fascinating. There are certain Enneagram numbers that just seem to be a contradiction, and I feel like 9 wing 8 happens to be one of those. I would love to hear from you here in the comments.